Hi guys, welcome to another video. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe, like the video if you find it interesting, useful, or entertaining. Click the notification bell and let's get right into it. So today I want to speak about the Cartier Love Bracelet, and in particular I want to do a comparison between a small love bracelet and a classical love bracelet, because so it happens that I own actually both of them. Here they are together on the wrist. I've had both of them for long enough to be able to tell how they wear, if I like them or not, which one I prefer, and why. I questioned myself, which bracelet would I get if I had to get another one today? For the first time, would I get the small love bracelet or would I get the classical model? So I have my notes right in front of me and I will structure the video in the following way. I'm gonna go through how and when I bought both of them, why I purchased both of them, the prices then versus now. Then I will do a little overview, that is the design, the weight, comfortability, and the closure clasp, and if I've had any issues with that. And finally, I will touch on the practicability and my final thoughts on the two bracelets. Okay, so this is how they look. This is the small bracelet and this is the classical love bracelet. I purchased the small model in 2018 for 3,900 euros. Today this bracelet costs 5,150 euros, and I purchased the classical model in March 2023. So it has been 6 months since my purchase. I bought the classical bracelet for 6,594 euros, and today in the boutique it costs 7,950 euros. Okay, I will speak about my purchases in the chronological order. 2018, I really wanted a Cartier bracelet, as I'm sure we all do. If you're watching this video, you either have one or you're thinking about one. At a time, 6,000 was not an option for me financially. I didn't want to spend this money on a bracelet. I really wanted one. I went to the Cartier boutique. I tried the small love bracelet. I liked the way that it looked. I liked the way that it felt. It was elegant. It was much cheaper. And it was a recent release as well. I think they had recently released the smaller version. So it was new. It was fresh. It was a great option. So I pulled the trigger. And in 2023, I was still contemplating until 2023 about getting the classical love bracelet. And I was at a Cartier boutique and an essay told me that they're about to have another 10% price increase. And I just decided to buy the classical love bracelet because I was certain that I'm gonna have it in my collection eventually. So what was the point of waiting and just, the bracelet is just getting more and more expensive every year. So I bought the classical one as well. Now that I have both of them, I can actually tell which one I prefer and which one would I get if I had another chance of having my first purchase. Okay, let's overview the design and the weight. Information that I found online, a classic love bracelet ranges from around 35 to 37, 39 grams, depending on your size, obviously. And the small version ranges from 17 to 20, 21 grams. The design is obviously the same. Although I have to say that the classic love bracelet does have a deeper engraving of the love clasps on it. From what I felt while I bought it at first was that it was at least, I could feel the weight. I could feel that it was at least like 70% heavier than the small version. And given the price difference, it obviously makes much more sense in terms of the cost per weight to buy the classic model instead of the small model, because the small model you get less for what you pay for. I've had the small love bracelet for around 5 years. I have never really taken it off unless I had to get an X-ray or an MRI, because metals are not allowed. Other than that, this bracelet has stayed on my wrist for 5 years and I don't feel it. I don't feel that it exists. It doesn't bother me. I sleep in it, I shower in it, I swim in the ocean with it. I do everything with it. I play sports. Anything under the sun, it stays on my wrist. Now, it's very comfortable. The ergonomics of this bracelet is absolutely brilliant. You don't feel it. It just, it hugs it hugs your hand really well. Now the thick version, the classic love bracelet, is much heavier. I definitely feel it. It took me a while to get used to it, actually. It was pretty uncomfortable at first. I could feel it like moving. was a bit painful on this bone. Now that I'm more used to it, it has been 6 months. It is also very comfortable, but it's not as comfortable as the slim one. The slim version, the small version, in my opinion, is much more comfortable. Now, I did take this bracelet off a couple of times when I have been traveling, but I will tell you why in a bit when I will come down to the clasp, the security, and etc. Other than that, I do shower, I sleep, and I play sports in both of these bracelets. They're both comfortable, but I would say that the small version is just slightly more comfortable than the thick. So if you are someone who cannot tolerate having something on you, you feel it, it makes you uncomfortable, then maybe a small version is actually a better option for you. Okay, now the closure. Actually, right before I was filming, I actually saw a video on YouTube channel. I think the channel is called Je suis Lou. This girl, she was speaking about how she had nearly lost her bracelet because it keeps opening, and she has the Classic Love Bracelet with the same closure that I do, which is the updated screw version, where the screws do not come separately, but they are a part of the bracelet. Now I'm going to speak about the closure and the clasps of both of them, and I guess I'm going to start with the small one. So the small bracelet has a mechanism where you would rotate the screw just once, and this way the bracelet opens. It is a completely different system compared to the classic one. Whether it's secure or not, I guess I'm not really entitled to judge. For me, I haven't had any issues except for once I woke up and my bracelet was for some reason hanging out of my wrist. It was open. Other than that, I do feel very confident in this closure system because I have been snorkeling, I'm swimming, I do not take it off when I go into the ocean, and so I guess that should say something about how confident I feel that it's not going to open. In my opinion, this closure system is very efficient. It doesn't open, you don't have any issues with it. I had one issue with it, and out of 5 years, I think it was purely because it was probably not closed properly. So I blame myself for this. Now let's speak about the closure of the classic version. And this is the one that everyone is having issues with. When I was purchasing this bracelet, I did ask the sales assistant a number of times whether the clasp was updated or not. She was just confused with it. She had no idea what I'm speaking about. She said, is the normal, is the final version, everything is fine, nobody's complaining, which I'm sure that they're supposed to say it. But at the same time, I personally haven't had a single issue. And the only issue that I have is actually not being able to put it on myself. I need help, and I need someone to not just close the clasp, not just rotate the screws, but also push it in specific directions so it actually comes together perfectly without anything sticking out and catching on my clothes. So this is the only issue that I've had with this bracelet. Other than that, following the first months of my purchase, I did come back to the closure every now and then with the screwdriver, just checking if the screws are tight. They are tight. They're like tight. Like I have to put pressure to unscrew them. But I do make sure when I put it on that I tied it really hard. And you could hear the screw, there's like a click when you rotate it. Every rotation gives a click, so I'm pretty confident again in the closure system. I haven't had any issues. Just before filming this video, I checked once again. The screws are tight, completely tight, like 100% tight. I cannot rotate it a single millimeter. So in terms of the closure, in my opinion, both of them are secure. Now I want to speak about usability and practicability, because this for me is a huge thing. I'm not someone who likes to take her jewelry off. One of the best things about Cartier Love Bracelets for me is not even what they represent and the heritage that the brand has and the legacy that is behind a love bracelet, but more than that, it's practicability. I do not have to take it off. I just don't take it off. It's always on me, and this is one of the best things that I can say about this love bracelet, about both of them, but particularly, in my opinion, about the small love bracelet. I have traveled with this love bracelet everywhere. I do not take it off. I go to Asia, I go to Thailand, I went to Maldives, I went to Greece, I go everywhere with it. I'm not afraid to travel. I'm not afraid that somebody will see it, that someone will spot it. In my opinion, is discreet enough that it doesn't attract that unnecessary attention when you're traveling and maybe you don't feel very secure. The Classic Love Bracelet, on the other hand, in my opinion, is very much out there. I think it's very recognizable. People do recognize it, they do see it. It's very difficult to hide. I usually put a sleeve over when I'm walking alone in the street somewhere, you know, in the middle of the night. And I do take it off when I travel. I take it off. I did not take it to Greece. I did not put it on in the Maldives, and I will take it off when I will travel to Thailand, and when I will go to Bali and Asia, hopefully next month. I will take this bracelet off. Just like that, I am not afraid to go anywhere. I think that the small love bracelet in this sense is just brilliant. It's subtle enough that nobody will ever be able to spot it in the same way as if you're wearing this one. This one is very, very, very much recognizable. I do have to mention also the fact that I think that the small version is much more elegant. I think that the small version gives the right amount of kind of beauty in terms of jewelry, but also it's subtle enough to be very elegant and very, you know, in a, I guess you could say, minimalistic. While, in my opinion, the Classic Love Bracelet is a heavier piece of jewelry. It's more, it's bulkier, it's bigger, and it has its own appeal in this sense. But I think that the small version is more elegant than the thick one. I also want to touch on very quickly about the scratches. I think they're both equally kind of the same in terms of being scratched. I have scratches on both of them. It's not a problem for me. I think that if anything, it gives some kind of a charm to your own jewelry because it's yours. There is scratches and memory. And in the grand scheme of things, when you're looking at someone's outfit, you don't notice those scratches. They're too, you know, they're tiny. You will not be able to see them on someone else. But if you do look very closely, of course, there are scratches. There are scratches on both of them. They scratch equally as bad. And my final thoughts on both of the bracelets. And the ultimate question, which one would I get if I were to get my Cartier bracelet for the first time? Now, as someone like me who has always wanted the classical love model, and it has been in the head and in the mind forever, and you just want to get it, and you want to have the original version from, I think it's from the 80s, right? My advice, get the Classic Love Bracelet, because evidently you will still be craving for it. It will not do the job, the small version. It's beautiful, it's practical, it's elegant, it's wonderful on its own, but it does not replace the Classic Love Bracelet. So if you're someone who wants the Classic Love Bracelet in its original version, I would say go for the classic version. However, if you're not someone who is fixated, let's say, and who's determined to get the classic version, then I would actually really consider this skinnier version. The small love bracelet is beautiful. It's practical, it's very extremely comfortable. It's a little bit cheaper, although it does come at a higher cost per gram of weight, per gram of gold. So, you know, financially speaking, it makes sense to get the thick one because the small one is actually more expensive per gram of gold. However, it's a beautiful piece of jewelry. It's subtle, it's not as recognizable, and if you want to be subtle in this way, I would say that this small version is actually a wonderful option. I think it's a better option, and I do not regret having it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful. I hope this will help you make the right decision. And please do like the video if it was helpful in any way. Subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, and I'll see you next week. Bye!